The San Francisco 49ers won the battle on Sunday. They may have lost the war because Nick Bosa's out for the rest of the year, but how did they win the battle? We'll break it all down on today's Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard Podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Vish Kumar, and we are here on a Monday. It is a Victory Monday. It doesn't feel like a Victory Monday, Vish, because we learned today that Nick Bosa has once again torn an ACL. He will miss the rest of 2025.
Yeah, funnily enough, the first time I ever did a show was right after Nick Bosa tore his ACL the first time with the 49ers in 2020. That's how I came onto the YouTube audience with Grant, and that was way back when. And so it's kind of eerie to see that it happened again. And Rob, I hate to say it, but when they showed those reactions, it felt like Nick Bosa had felt something that he felt before. It was almost like he knew it. It broke my heart. It sucked. I knew right away. I this morning, it was almost like confirming what I hoped. I knew wasn't going to happen, if that makes sense. I knew it was going to happen, but I'm hoping it's not going to happen. It's such a bad feeling. I feel bad for Nick Bosa. He looked really good at the start of this season, as he always does. I'm sure he'll be great. There you go. I'm sure he'll be the utmost professional through this recovery. But 3 ACLs, man, that's rough.
Yeah, he did it in high school. He did it in 2020, and then half a decade later, he does it again. If you're joining for the first time, this is the show. We call it Under Review. We go through drive by drive of what happened in the 49ers game on Sunday, and we are going to do that. But the bigger news today, obviously, is the loss of Nick Bosa. Kyle Shanahan spoke on a conference call earlier today and said, even though the MRI results hadn't come in, Bosa knew what was up.
Talked to him last night. He had a pretty good idea what we were going to find out today. But obviously, he's bummed down, but Nick can handle anything, and he's going to handle it like he always does, which will be great. But obviously, he was bummed out from it not being able to finish out this year, and especially how good of a year he was having so far.
Kyle obviously down, as you would expect. He also said the other thing you expect, you can't replace Nick Bosa. Everyone else is going to have to try more. My thing is, I did the instant reaction show earlier today, Vish, is I'm hoping that this doesn't disrupt the development and the usage of Mykel Williams. Because what I said earlier was essentially with Bosa there, they could move him all around and plug him wherever they wanted, wherever he could do the most damage. Now I feel like they got to stick him at outside for most of the time because they don't have the people because Bosa's not there. And that clearly wasn't the best way to use him. The best way to use him was how they have been using him, and he has been kicking ass.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen, Rob. I think Sam Okwonu would be the one that would slate more into Bosa's role, and that's because Mykel doesn't have that sort of skill set in his career yet. He's still developing the things that Nick Bosa has, the special bend, the multiple pass rush moves, the way that he sequences pass rush moves together throughout a game, all of that. What Mykel has is what Nick Bosa also has, which is raw power and explosion and physicality. And he has extremely long arms, which is something Bosa doesn't have. I don't expect them to do that because that's not the best way to use Mykel. But, it sucks because I made a prediction on last show, and I don't want to make this about me because it's not. I just want to talk about this prediction of how I thought this defense would really be one of the best in football by the end of the year. And it sucks because a big part of that is Nick Bosa. And that's where I think it really, really hurts this team because I think a lot of people are tempering expectations. Oh, this is not a Super Bowl team. This is not this. This is not that. I think this team is in a transition period where by the end of the year, we're going to think a lot of the players that we thought were worse coming into the year are players that they can build around. And a lot of players that we have been looking at for 4, 5, 6 years as players they've built around are maybe not that guy. And maybe they're not the centerpiece of this team anymore. And I think we're seeing early signs for that transition in September. And so where this really sucks is God only knows if this team got a bunch of confidence, how good and how far they could have gone. And I hate to do it, but it's really hard to win those playoff games without their best player, and Nick Bosa is their best player.
without question. Maybe Fred on the D. I mean, it's really close, but I think the way he was playing against the run and the pass, it wasn't just the pass rush stuff. Against the run, he was phenomenal. And look, they can still get to the playoffs, no question, especially with 3 wins already in the bank. How much disruption they can do when they get there, we'll see. But clearly, this is a big, big loss. Quickly, before we get to the film breakdown, or the drive breakdown, I should say, other news on the conference call. CJ West has a broken thumb. He's going to have surgery tomorrow, Tuesday. He could still potentially play this week against the Jaguars in a cast, which is
in
crazy.
The club. Ray McDonald used to play that way.
Yeah. So it's not totally out of the question. Mac Jones has that knee injury. He's day-to-day. Mykel Williams is day-to-day with the wrist that he injured during the game. Now, Mykel ultimately came back. He said after the game he's fine, but clearly he's on the injury report, so he's not 100%. Renardo Green, whose last name for some reason I forgot to capitalize. Sorry, Renardo. Has a neck injury.
Proper noun.
Yes, you know what? I tried to make it too fast before the show. And of course, Nick Bosa has the ACL. He is out for the year. I mean, you can't really say other than Nick Bosa and the ACL, it's not too bad because it's Nick Bosa and it's an ACL. But I guess Mac Jones, Kyle said, could come back. He's going to continue to practice. Got a chance to play this week, he said. Now, Jay Glazer reported on Sunday that if it was a playoff game, Brock Purdy would have played. So if that's the case, you'd like to think that Brock Purdy could be back out there. And Demarcus Robinson's suspension is officially over. So he's eligible to play this week against the Jags.
Yeah, and that's a big guy to come back because they need some help at receiver. They've got really one guy right now that's getting the job done outside the numbers, and then everybody else is kind of just filling in where they can. The Mac Jones injury, obviously, Rob, did you know he sprained his knee in preseason?
Yes.
I feel like I missed that. Okay. When they brought that up in the broadcast, I was like, oh, I've completely forgot that happened because I kind of assumed he didn't play that 4th preseason game because they wanted to find out who was better between Mordecai and Bradley, that ultimate competition. Okay. I had to sneak that in. Going back though, Rob, you want to get into this drive-by drive?
Sure, we can get into it. Not much to break down from the first quarter, as it felt like the Cardinals had the ball pretty much forever, and they kind of did. But let's dive into it. I rewatched the game today. Right off the bat, Vish, the Cardinals returned the kickoff to the 40-yard line. Like immediately, opening kickoff. Our kick coverage and punt coverage still not very good, especially kickoffs. Punt, not bad. Kickoff coverage is super iffy.
And Rob, I don't really want to do this because the 49ers special teams is probably the most over talked about subject on my show. Like we probably talk about them, 3rd or 4th after the big, Kyle Shanahan's, the Brock Purdy's, the heavy hitters when it comes to news in 49ers land. But I swear to God, I watch like 10, 15 games every 2 weeks, like everybody else. I never see this with consistency. Everybody else won, something we never talked about with Moody because we were so worried about him making or missing kicks. Everybody else's kicker has no issues sticking that kick in the landing zone every freaking time. I see Jake Elliott do it twice in a row in a game because he's got a re-kick. But, Moody used to struggle with that, and they used to look for the touchback. And then second, every other kickoff team, especially the ones that have to cover against Garendo, they do a phenomenal job of tackling the guy somewhere between the 20 and the 25. And it looks like the guy is able to run free 10 yards and he just runs into a scrum of people. And it's like, how is anyone ever going to break this kick? And then I watch somebody return a kick against the 49ers and there's always some sort of open alley. The guy's actually able to accelerate. And I'm like, oh, one of these could actually go somewhere. I don't understand it, Rob. They can fire this guy. They can fire that guy. I'm not going to pretend like I understand the technicalities of special teams or what's going on there. But we've said it in a few other shows now, back to back. It's a culture issue. They can fire the next guy. They can bring the next guy until everybody on your team is bought in that this is important. Everybody on your team is talking about this. Everybody on your team is involved in doing this. I was watching Devin McCourty and Chris Sims, not to go on a tangent, talk about the block field goal with Denzel Ward yesterday, the one that beat the Packers. And Devin McCourty was saying that, Tucker Kraft is the guy at the end of the line sealing the edge on Denzel Ward. And Denzel Ward has this special thing of being able to block field goals. And Chris Sims says that Lawrence Taylor used to be that guy on special teams for the Giants, for his dad's teams and all of that. Now, I'm not saying George Kittle has to go play special teams. That's stupid. I'm not saying Trent Williams has to go be an important part of special teams, but I do feel like within this team culturally, the star players don't really care about it. The coach doesn't really care about it as long as they're not messing up. And that system is why we're 4 coordinators in and they're just not very good at it. And they spend money on it too now. There's no excuse because they draft for it. They spend money on it. They fire the coordinator and they still suck at it.
It was not great once again, at least on the coverage side of things. This first possession for the Cardinals, I felt like was very emblematic of what we would see from their offense all day. They had the ball a ton. They gained very little yardage. In fact, the Cardinals on the entire day, Vish, only had 6 plays gain double-digit yardage. 6 plays the whole day. They ran 65 plays. They had the ball a bunch. They were disorganized. They got a delay of game penalty that pushed them back and basically derailed their drive, and they get nothing out of having the ball on the opening drive of the game for 6 minutes and 46 seconds.
Rob, this game was so boring, I'm going to have to be a little unserious, okay? Because we don't have much to talk about when we talk Cardinals offense, because just about every drive is 10 plays, 30 yards, 5 minutes, 2 first downs. Every play was 3 yards a play until they didn't get a first down, and that was that. And there were some cool things I thought the 49ers did defensively to prevent their offense, but if I'm Jed York, I'm suing the NFL. How the hell could you make my home opener versus that team and make my fans have to watch that offense do that? That was horrible to watch. I thought, I'm a Sanchez guy. I've told you I like his commentary in games before, Rob. I thought Sanchez was horrible yesterday. I thought Adam Amin was breaking down the game. There was a few times Adam Amin was like, Mark, the guy went in motion, indicating that it's man coverage. Or he said Green didn't go with the guy in motion, so it's zone coverage from the 2 high shell. Mark was like, okay. So that was what was going on. The game was so boring. And God, there's some things wrong with Arizona. It's crazy that they're 2-0. We're going to get through it as we go drive by drive, but holy cow, Rob. Every freaking drive, 10 plays, 30 yards, 2 first downs, 3 yards of play, punt.
A missed connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, Kyler Murray is trash, man. He's just trash. Anyway, let's continue. Niners get the ball.
If you want to go straight there, so Robert Saleh's comment, right, was we're going to have little mousetraps all over the field. And that's what this whole game was about. They kept moving him into spots that he can't see. And when he can't see, guess what happens? He doesn't know what to do because he can't see. He's really little and he doesn't want to get hit. And they kept running him into areas where he would run into places or not be able to see what he wanted to see. And he was either checking the ball down super quick or he was running around, not having anything. And that was the game. It was brilliant defensive game plan. It's so boring to watch, Rob. It was so boring to watch.
And even his arm, we'll talk about his arm later because we're bogging down here on the crap part of the game. Niners get the ball. They go 3 and out. Not surprising. They punt the ball back to Arizona. Arizona goes 11 plays. They hold the ball for 6 minutes, but they only go 33 yards, and they have to punt. And this is the drive where Nick Bosa gets hurt. He gets hurt on the 3rd down, the last 3rd down of the drive. On 3rd and 9, it was an incompletion. That's when Bosa gets hurt. So he leaves the game with 1 minute and 1 second left in the game. And that was when his season is over. But the Cardinals punt the ball again after doing absolutely nothing with it. Niners get the ball back and 3 plays, 1 yard punt.
Yeah. Just one more thing I want to add on that Cardinals drive. One more theme of the game that came up early on, Rob, for me was the Cardinals have one kind of great weapon to me, like explosive weapon, like big time playmaker. And everybody thought it would be Marvin Harrison Jr., including me. It's not. It's Trey McBride, the tight end.
Yep.
We found out something that the Niners seem to know about Trey McBride. He doesn't like contact. They beat the hell out of him, and he didn't play that physical in this game. And it was an issue for Arizona because he's their go-to guy. He's the guy that they need to make plays. And again, it makes such a difference when this team has a good defensive coordinator just because of all the little things that happen in the game. But those were the two things. You make Kyler Murray run into places he can't see, he really can't hurt you. And you get physical with their one guy who's really a very good player in my mind, honestly, Rob. He's been one of the more underrated players in the league. He's a top 5 tight end. And you get pretty physical with him, it becomes a problem. And both of those two things really caused, the Niners to completely shut down their offense besides the one drive late in this game that we'll eventually get to after we get through all of these 10-play, 33-yard stinkers.
Tyler, thank you very much for the super chat. Tyler says the team's playing well. We're a good enough team to beat the bad teams to make the playoffs. If we're lucky, we get a good matchup in the playoffs. I totally agree, Tyler. And even with the injury to Nick Bosa, I still believe that is true. Everything, they can still get to the playoffs, and they're going to be a pain in the ass for somebody.
I think if they have a healthy quarterback, right?
Right.
Mac Jones is playing at a pretty high level, but if they have their quarterback healthy, and they're being coached as good as they've been coached in the last 2 years, there's some coaching clinics being put on both sides of the ball, especially the way Shanahan is controlling the game. Rob, there's one more thing Pinheiro has brought with his inability to kick 50-yard field goals that's made Shanahan really aggressive and understand 4-down territory in the region of the field. Most coaches usually understand 4-down territory. So I'm not, look, the Bosa thing is my biggest disclaimer, but I'm not ready to write them off as they can't be good teams and all of that because the schedule is so easy. They can just build momentum and get confident enough where you get one good game versus the Rams, all of a sudden you get better than you think you are. And they have a veteran quarterback now. They have a quarterback who's been there. He's playing a lot of big games. He's a good starting quarterback. And then they have arguably, I would say right now, offense, defense, in terms of coaching staff mix. It's what's going on here. It's what's going on in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen and Lou Anarumo, in Minnesota with KOC, Brian Flores. This is what's the best in the league.
I agree. Coaching matters so much more in the NFL than any other sport. And you can it's so easy to see sometimes. And we're seeing it in all those spots you mentioned. Becca, 49ers Giants Sharks, YouTube channel member for 17 months. Thank you so much, Becca says. Finally caught the live with my favorite Vish. Becca, you could have just left it ambiguous and we both could have thought that we were your favorite, but she specifically went with you, Vish. So congratulations. There goes my smile. But,
wow, Rob,
we'll continue the break.
You could also be happy that someone's happy to see me. You don't have to always get so jealous.
No, I'll just jealousy's. That's where I'm living at right now. I'm jealous of every player that has a short-term injury. As I saw,
we can go to the Catalina wine mixer together and maybe
Catalina wine mixer, baby.
There we go.
All right, so Niners get the ball. They go 3 plays. They gain a whopping 1 yard. They punt the ball back to Arizona. So Cardinals have the ball. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, the one theme of the Niners drives early that we touched on last week. Mac Jones plays very well, but people around him, when you get pressure around him, I thought the difference in this game versus the other times they've played this defense and the Cardinals in the past with a similar sort of front that's big, imposing, puts pressure on the quarterback. Brock Purdy's athleticism is a game changer. It's a game changer in even their run game in terms of they showed the example of Mac Jones not being able to get wide enough later in the red zone for Christian McCaffrey to be able to win that foot race to the goal line. It's a big advantage in terms of how they get their quick game and some of their short boot action and some of their throwback plays. You've pointed out all the ways he gets that little over the top of the defensive lineman to throw to Juszczyk or Kittle on the backside when they throw that little tight end screen. And so it was a factor early in this game. Coaching, we'll see Shanahan really adjusts his play calling to Mac Jones' strengths. And it's really nice because Mac Jones is good at throwing in the drop back pass game, but they missed Brock Purdy early on in this game for sure.
There is one specific time when I actually think that's an advantage for Mac Jones, and I'll get to it as we move along here. Cardinals get the ball back, another 12-play, 49-yard drive, 6 minutes and 9 seconds they take off the clock, and the The interesting part for me comes, it's 2nd and 10 at the Niners' 21-yard line. Kyler Murray drops back to pass, and he has James Conner behind the defense, and he throws it to James Conner in the end zone. Not only does D. Winters recover, he goes up and makes a play on the ball, which James Conner has in his hands, and D. Winters strips him of the ball on the way down. I don't know if James Conner was going to come down in bounds if he had held on to the ball, but D. Winters makes the strip. The Cardinals get a drop on 3rd down the next play, which would have definitely gotten them a first down and maybe a touchdown, but they dropped the ball. But those 2 plays back to back, Vish, those are 4-point plays. The D. Winters strip and the drop, because Cardinals ultimately settle for a field goal on the drive.
I agree, and I thought it was indicative of a point you made earlier, like just a couple minutes ago when you were talking about Kyler Murray, and I also kind of agree with it. It felt like the ball was floating on him a lot. And
Yes.
if there was one thing I used to recognize with Kyler Murray, it's one, yeah, he's really fast and really athletic at that diminutive size, but he used to have just an absolute whip of an arm, especially early in his career. That ball would pop. And it felt like even yesterday, like the one he threw to Marvin Harrison that he dropped, the one he threw to Marvin Harrison that they completed, they were all just up and over wounded ducks. I would like to say, like, somewhere in my head, this is a 49ers defense and Robert Saleh thing, because I felt like I was noticing them try and move him into areas where it'd be uncomfortable for him to throw. But I don't know that changes the way the ball looked like it was floating. And that James Conner one, yeah, D. Winters has great recovery speed, and he's flying all over that field, man, through 3 weeks this year. But I'd like to say Kyler Murray, the one that 5 years ago rolled out left and threw a ball 60 yards to DeAndre Hopkins versus the Bills, could throw that ball before D. Winters, or at least not allow that play to be so clear for D. Winters.
I completely agree with you. I looked multiple times yesterday, and I was like, man, he used to have a rocket. He didn't. If he didn't use it, then that's even worse. If it's gone, it's gone. There's nothing he could do about it. But if he has it and he just chose to keep it in the bag, that would be even more concerning if I was a Cardinals fan.
You know, their offense is just bizarre to me, because they have this whole shotgun run game, but Kyler Murray never really pulls it down. They never really run a quarterback draw with Kyler Murray. There's no design with him in the run game. They run these conventional, like, inside zone duo plays, and James Conner is a very good back who consistently gets them 3 yards. And we found out that their offense goes to piss if they can't get those 3 yards from him, essentially, because they have nothing else. And then he throws it to the flat 25 times a game for 100. Like, what is going on? This, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that we had to watch that. Jed York, Sue Goodell, man.
I like
your
that
home opener, your fans, they're all here. They're excited. You're wearing throwbacks.
Your anger is just that you had to be forced to watch it. I respect that. Okay, let's continue in the breakdown. The super chat here from NorCal says, when Pearsall makes the catch, we need Cuba Gooding Jr. yelling, Ricky! I'll have to go and find that. But on the next drive, we saw it, Vish. Right away, a 2nd and 1 at the Niners' 41-yard line. Mac Jones hits Pearsall for 18 yards. And the thing he is so freaking good. You saw it multiple times in this game, and he's done it in the past as well. When he's running these digs over the middle of the field, he doesn't just run parallel to the line of scrimmage. He comes back to the football, which, number one, helps because Brock and Mac don't have the strongest arms. But number two, it shields the ball away from the defender. He uses his body so the defender can't jump it and get in front, and he catches those passes. Ricky Pearsall was awesome yesterday. He has been awesome all year. We'll eventually get to the massive catch he makes on 4th down later in the game. But Ricky Pearsall right now, Vish, he's having the year that Brandon Ayuk had in 2023.
Correct. And first of all, Rob, you and I were big Ricky Pearsall supporters this offseason, and we believe that this was the type of season he was going to have. Second of all, I completely agree with you. There's so many little nuances to what he does that make what he does look easier than it actually is. Like how much space he creates right at the end at the catch point. He separates at the catch point exceptionally well. He uses his body to create space really, really well by manipulating like where he's going to be with the defender, and then naturally like dipping down to go catch the ball and avoid getting hit or sliding and doing stuff like that. He runs after the catch very well too. I think that was one thing I never knew how good it was even when I saw him in Florida and a little bit here and there in Arizona State. And so all of those things are true. What I really felt yesterday is when I was thinking of him watching this game, I was thinking about him versus what I've seen of Ayuk and what I've seen of Debo. And this is kind of what I came to. I think Debo is probably the most physically gifted of the three in terms of just what God gave him with size, speed, explosive ability, the way he can run with the ball in his hands. There's been few athletes that have been gifted with that sort of natural ability. Ayuk probably has the most like receiver skills and talents in terms of just how big his body is, how long his arms are, just how he's able to stop and start as an athlete, the way he's able to change direction very quickly. But I think Ricky might be the best receiver of the three because there's one thing Ricky has that the two of them don't have, I think, at this level is exactly the hand-eye coordination and the ball skills from Ricky Pearsall are really, really phenomenal. When the ball is in the air, he attacks the ball, and he attacks the ball in the way that the defender can't make a play on it. The way he's able to get vertical on every single one of his routes and get on top of the defensive back and stack them. I mean, we're going to talk about it on the play that he ultimately wins essentially the game for them. I feel like you can say now looking back, that play is phenomenal. I think he's going to be the best receiver of those three is also what I'm coming to say. He's really, really good, Rob. I don't even think there's like even Niners fans, like, because there's always been this conversation. Is he a number two? Is he a number? He's the number one option on this offense. When they go to him, that's when these drives go boom, 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 boom. When they go to him, that's when they get chunk plays. The best thing this offense has going right now, Christian McCaffrey's the engine, but Ricky Pearsall is the best thing they have going right now.
Ricky Pearsall was the only receiving threat the Niners had at all yesterday. The only receiving threat the Cardinals had to worry about other than Christian McCaffrey.
Cover him.
And they could not cover him. I know they're banged up in the secondary a little bit. They could not cover him. They had one job to do, and they couldn't do it. Now, as we continue on this Niners drive, they're down to the Arizona 19-yard line, Vish, and then they run this stupid toss to the right. They have been running this toss play, and it has been getting, more often than not, it's been getting blown up. CMC got blasted. He lost 5 yards, and it derailed the drive. It derailed all the momentum, and the Niners ultimately had to settle for a 38-yard field goal from Eddie Piñeiro. That stupid toss pitch, man. I know the interior of the line stinks, but that play has more often than not been a loss than a positive gain of yards for the Niners. And so they have to settle for the field goal to tie the score at 3.
Yeah, I agree. When you hit on the toss pitch, I also thought of one more thing that kind of killed me in this game. They just had a tough time executing in the run game. Like there were a lot of just small misses that prevented runs from being successful. And then there were a lot of holding penalties from them. And they hold once or twice in every game. They get called for it. But this was an uncharacteristic. I want to say they got 4 offensive holding penalties. I know 3 for sure. And one of them was on the receiver. And honestly, the one on Bourne was pretty egregious. Like you just can't grab outside of the guy's frame at that point. Like you should know better. And that was a nice run too that he erased with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you were hitting on things that frustrated you with the toss play, I was like, yeah, the other thing with the run game is these small executions and the holding. I feel like their run game is, I would like to say they're just a week away, but I don't know that Jacksonville is the defense that they're going to be able to get their run game going. That's a pretty imposing front to go up against. But I feel like their run game it's coming together one of these weeks. One of these weeks they're going to pop.
It better, because it needs to get a lot better. The blocking it's been very, very frustrating. But the Niners kick the field goal. The Cardinals get the ball back, Vish. And this, I thought, was one of the turning points of the game. Cardinals get the ball back. They go 3 plays. They gain 9 yards. It's 3rd and 1. James Conner gets stuffed by Bryce Huff and Fred Warner. Fred Warner was awesome in short yardage. I mean, he was awesome everywhere. But in short yardage, Fred and the Niners in general yesterday were really, really good. It's 4th and 1. You're at your own 37-yard line, and there's 2 minutes and 19 seconds left, and Arizona punts. I was so scared that they were going to go for it. And they punted the ball back to the 49ers, and I was saying, thank you, Jonathan Gannon. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because it gives the Niners the ball back on their own 14-yard line with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left. And what happens? The 49ers execute a beautiful 2-minute drive. And Mac Jones has been very good at the end of halves and very good at the end of games. And this is where, we were talking about how Mac can't move when things go bad around him. I think it helps him in the 2-minute drill, Vish, because he gets rid of that ball so fast. I think in his head, he's like, I can't get sacked. So he drops back to pass, and that ball is out. It's either a throw or a throwaway, but he is not holding on to it. And he does leave some yards on the field on certain plays, but in the aggregate, he lives to play another down, and he gets it done. And he was beautiful on this 2-minute drive.
Yeah, I think he's great in the 2-minute drill, and I just think that that's where like his style is more seen. Like I know he's done all the condensed stuff since college, and the idea was that he has quick enough feet as a pocket passer when he was coming out that he can be in a movement wide zone style offense, but still do all the pocket throwing stuff that they require. That was the whole take that all the reporters were telling us, and that's why many of us thought that he would ultimately be the pick before it became Trey Lance because of the way it was reported. But from what I've noticed in these last 2 games, he seems to be best when it's just spread out for him and he can just back foot hit the ground, just throw it. Man, he's accurate. He's very, very accurate. And when his back foot hits the ground, he's cutting it loose. He usually cuts it loose to where he wants to go, and he's very good at that. I also think for me, and this is just me being me, the thing I take away from that also is the nuance of why I think Brock is the better suited quarterback for what Kyle wants to do rather than Mac Jones, because that athleticism and that ability to play when it's more condensed, I think Brock is better suited for that. And I think Jones would thrive like with what Joe Burrow does with the Bengals. Not like he's not Joe Burrow. He doesn't have that same talent, but in that sort of offense where everything is spread out and you put him in the gun the whole game and you're just having him drop back and it's quick game. He's not going to generate the big plays Burrow does. I'm not comparing him to Burrow, just making a quarterback style reference here.
By the way, you want to know why this drive was so successful? Let me just read it to you. Jones pass to McCaffrey, 7 yards. McCaffrey up the middle, 10 yards. Jones incomplete to McCaffrey. Jones short right to McCaffrey. Jones deep middle to Pearsall for 20 yards. Jones pass to McCaffrey for 6 yards. Jones pass to Pearsall for 4 yards. Jones incomplete to Pearsall. Penalty on Jake Brendel holding. Jones to Kendrick Bourne for 11. Jones incomplete to McCaffrey. Jones short to McCaffrey. Field goal good with 17 seconds left. Eddie Pinheiro makes a 51-yarder. It was CMC and it was Ricky Pearsall. It was
the only thing they have on offense right now, Rob.
It was interesting whites on that drive, pretty much. I mean, that's really what their offense was.
Yeah. Jones also, like those 2-minute situations. I mean, honestly, he's had 3 of the better 2-minute drives I've seen from a 49ers quarterback in a while, and they've all come in, back-to-back weeks. The one versus the Saints was beautiful. This one was good. And then he has a way better one at the end of this game. That one was pretty freaking special.
He's had 2 2-minute drives in this game, one before halftime, one at the end of the game. He had only 1 third down in both drives combined, and it was the third down on this drive was the pass to Ricky Pearsall that gained 20 yards. So
that's how it looks easy.
Yeah, it wasn't even. Yeah, right. It wasn't even like nerve-wracking. It was just very methodical, but it was hike, ball out, boom, 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 down the field. Great job of clock management by the 49ers. And Eddie Pinheiro makes a no drama, no worries, 51-yard field goal. And the 49ers go into halftime, Vish, leading the game 6-3 that they had no business leading. Before the 2-minute drive, they had only run 15 plays in the half on offense. That's your opening script, right? You script the first 15. Before that 2-minute drive, they had 15 offensive plays, yet they go into the locker room with a lead 6-3.
So totally agree with your point on the time of possession, but I watch 49ers games based on how I feel, I guess, sometimes watching the other team. And my takeaway at half was like, oh, the Cardinals aren't going to score. Like they can't do anything. Like, this is pathetic. Like, they can hold the ball. They're not going to score. And so when I saw the 6-3, I was like, oh, this is great. The Niners are going to get the ball at half. And I'm going to think, man, one drive, if the Niners even kick a field goal like 9-3 and you make Arizona have to score a touchdown, no shot they're going to score a touchdown and win this game. So what's going to happen? The Niners will turn the ball over. Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head at halftime. I'm not, it's funny because you're probably right. If I had your mindset, I would have had a much better halftime because I'd have been like, shoot, the way Arizona possessed the ball, like the Niners kind of did steal one back, and they're about to steal their second possession by getting the ball after half. But no, I was thinking.
Your negativity comes from a place of positivity, Vish. But I mean, look, let's be honest. If Jake Moody's the kicker, they're missing that field goal, and they're going into halftime tied, and you're sitting here cursing the football gods, how they should have a lead, and Jake Moody stinks, and blah, blah, blah. There's no way that he makes that kick. By the way, I should mention, too, Arizona gets the ball back. They try and run a play. Bryce Huff gets a sack, and that's the end of the half. That's how the first half goes. 49ers up 6-3.
Can we criticize other teams on this show? Dude, what the hell does Arizona do? Like, the way they managed the clock at the end of that half was also so funny. And you have a veteran quarterback who you're paying, $240, $250 million to, and he takes a sack on that first down. Like, the one thing he can't do.
He's not good. He is not good. He has tremendous physical talents, but he has no feel for the game. He has blind spots on the field, and I would not want him to be my quarterback. I mean, he can't even connect with his number one wide receiver. Still, Ricky Pearsall has more 100-yard games this season than Marvin Harrison Jr. has in his career, Vish.
Well, I do think there's some element to the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing of, like, we thought he was the best receiver. They said, I don't know. So, but people were saying he's the best receiver prospect ever. There's got to be some explosive athleticism missing to the best receiver prospect ever, because there's a receiver drafted after him who I see the juice. He didn't have a very good game last night, but you see the juice. With Marvin Harrison Jr., like, I don't even think they can throw him a quick screen and it'd be like, oh, he's going to get 20 yards and he's going to give them an explosive play. Like, the Niners could do that with Ricky Pearsall. Like, we can't throw it to Ricky. We haven't been able to throw it to him for a little bit. Let's throw him a screen. Ricky Pearsall will get 8 yards. He's good enough running after the cat. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. could do that. And so I think a little bit of my Kyler Murray fandom is showing a little bit because I am defending him every time you criticize him. But yeah, he stinks, man. He stinks.
It's not good.
I think Arizona's a mess. They have accumulated a lot of talent on both lines of the ball, too. The next coach is going to come in and they're going to win the division, and people are going to be, oh, Arizona came out of nowhere. And they're going to do it with some middling quarterback. Watch, there's enough talent on that team.
So he's going to Jim Harbaugh, is what you're telling me.
I don't know that there's a Patrick Willis sitting around and a Justin Smith there, but yeah, I do think so. Now, I don't know that you can Jim Harbaugh a division with Shanahan and McVay. Maybe I should slow my roll, but Arizona has accumulated a lot of talent on both front sevens.
They do have some good pieces there for sure. Budda Baker among them. All right, we'll get to the second half in a minute, but first, a word from Sleeper. Let me just pop my phone up there on the screen. Very pleased and privileged to be joined by Sleeper this season. As always, it is incredibly easy to use. You can see the app. I've put it on my phone. It is on the screen. They have all sports, but, I live in an NFL world, so that's where I go. The picks pop right up, and it's super easy. All you got to do is pick on stats like touchdowns, pass yards, receiving yards. Choose more or less, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money on Sleeper if you get your picks right. How can you beat that? And they have pretty much every freaking stat you could possibly imagine. Pass yards, rush yards. You can see them there as I'm scrolling through. Anytime touchdown. By the way, once again, Michelle and I crushed it on Fridays. I think we got one wrong out of all of our picks. We've only gotten 4 picks wrong all year. I'm just saying, maybe you want to pay extra special attention on Fridays. Michelle, by the way, gave you some love. She said she loves you. She heard what you said last Monday, so she's very appreciative of that, Vish. So I just thought you'd want to know that. We're bringing people together here with Sleeper. And if you're going to use Sleeper, please use our promo code GSP. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. So again, that's promo code GSP. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Vish, let's get to the third quarter, because once again, 49ers have a chance to double up, right? Kyle Shanahan's ultimate fantasy. Let's score at the end of the first half and score in the third quarter, and we'll have a big lead, and it'll be super great. And the 49ers immediately start to drive with a holding penalty on Connor Colby, and they are at 1st and 16 right off the bat. Now, to their credit, Kyle Shanahan got Christian McCaffrey wide ass open on the next play, and they got all that yardage back, which was pretty amazing. But ultimately, the drive fizzles out, and the Niners punt 5 plays, 11 yards.
Yeah, I love the way you describe that, because the way the drive was, it's almost like, oh, they got a holding penalty and that's what ruined it all. And the funny thing about that drive is that they actually overcome the holding penalty, and then it just completely collapses in a very un-Niners way. No gain, incompletion, and that's it. That's a Kyle. That never happens with Shanahan.
Right. It's very, very rare for this team, but that is exactly what happened. And so they punt the ball back. Now, Arizona gets the ball, and this is when James Conner gets hurt. It's on this drive, and it was ugly and gruesome. And it reminded me of the Trey Lance injury, where everyone's on the field and the cart's on the field and people are gathered around and opposing players are like looking away and everyone was distraught. It was that kind of ugly. And on the first play after the injury, Vish, Marvin Harrison Jr. drops a wide open pass. And look, maybe it would have happened anyway, or maybe that was part of it. Players have talked about how it's hard to snap back into focus after one of your brothers essentially goes down with that kind of injury. And that was the first play after James Conner goes down. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes full Jaquaski Tart and drops the ball that is just floating down to him.
Yeah, he used an arm punt. He almost had to call a fair catch on that. I think he was surprised by, wow, this ball is going to take another 10 minutes to come down to me, and I can actually wait the 10 minutes and catch it like a punt. And then he dropped it.
Yeah, it really was a lollipop.
It pops up. It popped up. This is a guy that used to throw line drives. I think he's an outfielder, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, he was. I will say that the Cardinals end up getting that yardage back because they go to Zay Jones for 18 yards on 3rd and 7.
The best throw Kyler Murray makes of the game.
Is that one?
Yeah, the Zay Jones one. It's the one time he steps in the pocket and makes a real throw in this game, essentially.
And it worked out. And they continue to drive down the field. Now they get a false start on Calvin Beachum. That sets him back, goes from 2nd and 10 to 2nd and 15. But they do a little dump off pass to Trey McBride. They pick
Great
up
12.
Call. And you think they're in business. And it's 3rd and 3, and they give the ball to DeMercado. And who is there? Mykel Williams and Bryce Huff. And they stuff him. And you're like, yes, okay, we're good. And then they bring everybody back out for 4th down. They go for it, convert the 4th down. They are moving the ball down the field. Ultimately, the 49ers defense stiffens, and the Cardinals have to hit a 28-yard field goal. By the way, did you know that their kicker, Chad Ryland, was picked 14 spots after Jake Moody?
Yeah, I did know that. I thought you were going to bring that up way earlier in the show. I thought we would talk about his missed kick too.
I meant
to
on the first drive. Yep. But unfortunately I didn't. But the Connor play was just brutal. I mean, it really took the steam out of the Cardinals, and I think it actually comes up later in the game where you feel that absence a little bit more. But ultimately, you get the DeMercado drop that leads to the field goal, and Niners kind of luck out a little bit because, like I said, that drop was massive. So it's 6-6, and the 49ers are getting the ball back. 6 minutes to go in 6.5 in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, totally. The thing with the Conner injury is, even though their offense theoretically had more like success in terms of 2 long drives and a touchdown after he went out, you could see the impact that he has because they were so reliant on him on 1st down. They were so reliant on him in short yardage, and he just kept getting them positive yards. Just such a tough runner. So physical. He's always been, I feel like, a good player for them and a tough player for the 49ers to defend. Totally agree on it being brutal. And the 3rd and 3 play on this drive, that was Mykel Williams just being a total man. Beats a double team on the inside, just powerful. He is just so strong. He is just so physical. He plays so hard. And those 3 things are usually a recipe for success.
Growing up before our very eyes, man, he is absolutely dominating. So the Niners get the ball back, and I think they put together one of their better drives of the day. They start out with Ricky Pearsall, 18 yards. Again, they get a 15-yard run from Christian McCaffrey, or a 13-yard run. No, sorry. It was a 15-yard run. And to that point, McCaffrey had only had 13 yards on the ground the rest of the day. So that was how stagnant the running game was. But they get the 15-yard run. Then they get a holding penalty, which on Kendrick Bourne, that was the receiver play that you mentioned earlier. But they hit Pearsall again on 1st and 17 for 5. McCaffrey
That was a pretty ridiculous catch.
Yeah,
away from his body.
Fingertip catch where he catches the back half of the football. To me, he's got the best hands. You mentioned Ayuk, Debo, and Pearsall. He's got better hands than Ayuk by a mile.
So there was one more thing I wanted to add with that. It's not just the hand-eye coordination. He's the most acrobatic of those three at the catch point. Like Ayuk has this big frame, big hands, just like a very natural receiver athlete's body. He's very thick naturally. Like Brandon Ayuk is 200 pounds, like, and his frame is very proportioned. But Ayuk never really like does the receiver skills of when the ball's in the air, going up and just being able to contort his body or use his body to create space at the catch point and make those sorts of catches. It's never been his game. Debo has very strong hands at the catch point and can be physical, but Debo doesn't have the natural ability to contort his body. And we see all the different type of catches he makes, all the different catches he makes going away from his body, away from his frame, and he does it fearlessly without getting hit because his awareness is so good and his athleticism is so good. And Rob, one more thing I wanted to add. You brought up the 2023 Ayuk thing. I actually was thinking the same exact thing. I kind of felt like he was going to have a big game because Ayuk always has big games versus the Cardinals. That's the team that they're always able to scheme him open. And Pearsall is kind of in a hybrid role right now of Ayuk and Jennings' role where he does a little bit of both of what they do, primarily what Ayuk does. But yeah, it felt like, look, you as good a player as Ayuk is, you take another very talented player who is made of the right stuff and you coach him to do stuff. The scheme can create opportunities for him to have a great play and great season too. And that's no disrespect to Brandon Ayuk, but there's a difference to what Julio Jones and Andre Johnson were to Shanahan's offense. Like you're not putting Ricky Pearsall or someone else to replace Julio Jones or Andre Johnson. Unfortunately, you can do that in a way with Brandon Ayuk, and Pearsall's really good and Ayuk's really good, but this is about that money part.
Jan says BA had the Avengers gravity helping him. Pearsall does not. That is a fair point.
But BA also never got to play in a situation where he got targeted like this as the one guy.
Yeah, that's very true too. And again, we don't need to pit these guys against each other. I'm fascinated to see what the offense looks like when you have Ayuk and Pearsall, because I think that's like going to unlock a whole new game plan for Shanahan.
It'll be really hard to cover. Really hard to cover. If they ever get Spags in the Super Bowl a third time and he dares to play man coverage, you best believe they'll be able to kick that man coverage's ass that day.
Right. All we need is 3 chances and maybe we could get one. But, this was emblematic of the day too. So the Niners get the holding penalty on Bourne. It's 1st and 17 and Mac Jones just checking the ball down, being efficient, throwing to the open guy, eventually gets it to where it's a 3rd and 3, 3rd and manageable, and he hits Pearsall for 10 yards, and all of a sudden that penalty is erased, right? You got all the yardage back. You get to a 1st down again. Unfortunately for the 49ers, this is where it gets wonky because it's 1st and goal at the 6. You give it to Brian Robinson up the middle, 3 yards, just nothing there. Christian McCaffrey.
Wait, did you touch on the 3rd and 3 right before this? That was a sweet throwing catch. The timing on that, on the out route, the way that looked, that was pretty. I wish, like I said, I thought Sanchez, my guy, had a poor game. I thought that was one of the prettier throwing catches of the game. It was so good near the sideline. He threw it pretty early. Great touch, great trajectory. And Pearsall, the way he catches it goes out of bounds. It's smooth. Like Ricky Pearsall is cool, man.
He's been throwing, Mac has, with some real anticipation, which for a backup quarterback was impressive. And he obviously did it there. And then they're getting down to the 2-yard line, to the 1-yard line. Christian McCaffrey can't get in. 3rd and goal. Christian McCaffrey stuffed again. And fourth down, it got wonky. First of all, the Niners could not get the play in. And they are rushing to the line. And I was hoping, but also not hoping, that Kyle Shanahan called a timeout. He didn't call a timeout, and the Niners got the playoff. Unfortunately, they were never really settled. The Cardinals sent a blitz. Mac Jones is forced to just chuck the ball, and he throws a hospital ball to CMC, who gets leveled, Vish. One of the hardest hits I've ever seen Christian McCaffrey take. He wasn't even really looking for the ball. Now, it didn't work out, but I will say I was super happy that Kyle went for it and didn't settle for the field goal, because in games past, Kyle is running the kicker out there to kick the field goal because that would have given him a 3-point lead. He didn't do that in this game. He went for it with a backup quarterback. I was so happy. I hated the play call, and Kyle himself said after the game that he wished he wanted to call a different play, but he was worried about Mac's knee because Mac was not moving around well at that point, and so he didn't think he'd be able to execute it. But I love that he went for it, even though it didn't work out.
Yeah, totally agree on the going for it. I feel like we thought, everybody thought a touchdown and they win this game. Like Arizona's not going to score twice to beat them. Yes. And so I love the mindset there. I think that was absolutely right on. The way the play executed kind of sucked, right? It was a total mess. Christian McCaffrey gets destroyed by Mac Wilson, who was flying around everywhere yesterday. He played, I thought, very well in the game. I have one kind of gripe, Rob. I don't want to call it a gripe because I don't have too much to say. I feel like Shanahan's coaching his ass off. Okay. But I'd love to see one Ricky P target near the red zone. I feel like he would be really hard to cover in the red zone with the way he's able to contort his body, the way he goes up and catches the ball at the highest point, the way he creates space when there isn't a lot of space, especially at the top of his routes. I wanted maybe one, like, if you got one-on-one on the outside, see if you can maybe go to him. I understand going to McCaffrey all 4 plays. I feel like McCaffrey is all guts. I feel like McCaffrey is still a really good player, but I feel like there's a juice that Ricky has being 23 that maybe is no longer in Christian McCaffrey. And that's not to say he isn't a really good player still. He's a very, very good player. But there used to be a gear and an extra pop to Christian McCaffrey that he had in his younger days that now he makes up for with power and being a wily veteran. And so that's where I wish they wanted those plays, not all 4 in a row for the same guy. Maybe you're wearing him out.
Maybe. I mean, I think they definitely are. I think he's on pace for like 400 something touches this year. Benali says Mac Jones nearly ended the 49ers season on that play, potentially getting Christian McCaffrey hurt. But this is another turning point in the game. So the 49ers turned the ball over, and this is what I've been saying when I've been howling for Kyle Shanahan to go for it more. You pin the other team deep, even though you don't score. So the Cardinals take over, yes, but they take over on the 2-yard line. And I will say this, and maybe I'm wrong. You tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. I love the way Robert Saleh has been calling things when the other team is pinned deep. I think he has taken that into account, and he's almost like using the end zone as an extra defender. He always brings pressure in those situations. The Cardinals are trying to get out of it. They complete a 6-yard pass to Marvin Harrison. They do a 3-yard run to Trey Benson, and then it's 3rd and 1. And this is one of my favorite plays of the game. Kyler Murray drops back to pass, and he gets pressure. He gets pressure from 3 people in one play. And do you know who all 3 of those people were, Vish?
Mykel Williams, CJ West, and
Collins.
Okay.
All 3 of the rookies for the Niners on the defensive line pressure Kyler Murray. I don't know what he is doing in the end zone. He is just get rid of the ball, dude. And he doesn't. Collins comes first. Mykel forces him, and CJ West is pressuring him at the end, and he throws the ball away, and it's intentional grounding. And I did not know this. I thought if the quarterback is standing in the end zone and he gets grounding, it's a safety. I didn't realize the quarterback had to be in the end zone and the ball had to be in the end zone. So it wasn't grounding, but great job by the defense there, pinning them.
It wasn't a safety. It was grounding.
Or yeah, it wasn't a safety. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I totally agree. So I kind of had 3 thoughts from this play sequence. One, they really missed James Conner in this position because I think 1st and 2nd down would have been handed off to James Conner if James Conner was healthy. 2, it's a good example of how your quarterback being short hurts you because they couldn't put him under center from their own 1-yard line, which is kind of a big problem because you want your quarterback under center usually in those sorts of situations. So you want to have that option. 3, the grounding rule kind of sucked. I also didn't know that rule.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to raise my fist and say this was bullshit. And okay, 54-40, Rob. But it seemed pretty fair from the way the rule was read. But I had a big issue with what happened on. Oh, and 4, your Robert Saleh point, I absolutely agree. Robert Saleh is an aggressive defensive coordinator. That's the statement. It's point blank. It ends. Full stop. Robert Saleh forces the issues on offense. This idea that he was conservative is back when he was the Seattle scheme guy. Robert Saleh is flat out an aggressive defensive coordinator, but he's aggressive with a plan to force the issue and make the offense play his game. It's brilliant. He's one of the best coaches in football. And then finally, Rob, let me get to what really aggravated me. So we talked about the special teams earlier in the season. I want everybody who watches football with me for the rest of the season to do something. When you see the next time a team is punting the ball from their own half-inch yard line and their punter has barely got his ass off the goalpost for the field goal post, do you ever see 2 gunners on each of the gunners and they rush only 6 guys? You'll never see it. The 49ers did that. They didn't pull out rush to block the punt.
Nope.
You're at home. I was like, what is going on? They didn't even put pressure on him to catch the snap. Forget if you're going to get there. Forget if you're worried about running into him. Put pressure on him to catch the snap and get the punt off. They didn't even do that. That was one of the situationally worst special teams things I've ever seen from a team in a win. I'm probably the only person who got so mad about that, but oh my God. That really upset me, Rob. I thought, okay, you pin them, you get a bad punt, you win special teams. It's like, nope, thank you. Please just give it back to us.
You know what it was? It was Kyle saying, don't get a penalty. I don't want anybody hitting the punter. We're going to get this ball at midfield, and we're just not going to screw it up. And that is exactly what happened. They get the ball back. It starts at the Arizona 48-yard line, and they're moving down the field again. Christian McCaffrey is going down the field, and I loved this again from Kyle Shanahan, right? So it's 3rd and 5 at the 43-yard line, and they run the ball with Christian McCaffrey for 3 yards, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I think he's going to do it.
Right?
He ran the ball there because he's going to do it.
It wasn't a trick run. It was like a conventional, yeah.
It was a boring old run. And it's 4th down in 4th and 2, and the Niners are staying out there again. And before we get to the actual play, Kyle said it in the post-game press conference. He said, I didn't know that I was specifically going to call that play to that they called on the 4th down, but I knew I was going for it. That means, Vish, he thought about it ahead of time. He recognized where they were on the field, and he did the damn thing. The thing that I have been screeching about for 9 years now. He did. I don't know if his thinking changed. I don't know if it has to do with the lack of confidence in your kicker, whatever it is. I don't care. I love it. I love it from Kyle Shanahan.
I totally agree. I want to say earlier in the game too, this just reminded me, we don't need to go back to it, but early in the game on a drive that didn't matter, there was a 3rd and short that they took a shot to back across the field. To Ricky Pearsall that Mac Jones missed him earlier in the game. I might be mixing up drives or games, but I want to say that happened. And that I thought that was also an example of, like if on 3rd and short, you're thinking you possibly have 2 downs, that sort of thing. And so I totally agree. The mindset is great. And then this play is the play that wins them the game, Rob.
On the 4th down.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. It's 4th down. 49ers are not punting. They decide to go for it, and Mac Jones said that this was an alert, that he could have gone to Bourne on the out, but he had an alert to Pearsall, who goes up. It's just a straight go ball. And how about the absolute onions on Mac Jones to say, forget the short pass, I'm going for all of it. And he drops an absolute dime to Ricky Pearsall, who makes a tremendous catch on his helmet. And the 49ers are in business, arguably the biggest play of the game to that point.
Yeah, and so I think there's 2 things to that. One, totally agree on the onions. I think we're seeing more of Mac Jones's personality in these 2 games than we've seen his entire NFL career. And his personality is Mac Jones likes to talk. Mac Jones thinks he's some guy. You see Mac Jones coming off the sideline after a touchdown pass. I can't read his lips. I don't know what he's saying, but it seems like Mac Jones is yelling to Adriano Martinez. Yeah, that's me. I'm that bad MFer. I do that stuff. It seems now it doesn't look great like Mac Jones. I don't think this is what people think your personality is, but he seems to be that sort of guy. I totally agree. Like, okay, in that moment, I'm going to take my one-on-one matchup. It's straight shot and a go ball. And Rob, this is as good a throw as a 49ers quarterback, again, I've seen make on a go ball in a long, long time. This is a freaking great throw. He puts it right on him.
I remember when we were all in 2021, is it going to be Trey? Is it going to be Fields? Is it going to be Mac? When we broke down Mac Jones, the one thing I wrote down is I love his deep ball. I think he's always thrown a good deep ball. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but for whatever reason, to me, it's a strength of his. It came up big in that play. And how about Pearsall? Just everything. Tracking the ball. The ball bounces off of his helmet. And the other part of this play that I loved, Vish, again, I felt like the Niners were buttoned up on the details. They ran to get the next play off quickly because they weren't 100% sure it was a catch. And so they didn't want to get burned by a replay review. So they hauled ass down the field to get the next playoff. And you might say, oh, that's not that big a deal. It is a big deal. They were struggling to move the ball down the field at that point. They couldn't get into the end zone. They were on it. They were on the details. Kyle was on it this game.
Yeah, and I love that you also pointed out that last detail, because I think the other thing that makes Ricky Pearsall so good is the way he's able to secure that ball the last minute before he goes to the ground is also really nice. He always tucks it away right before he makes contact with the ground to make it look like the catch was easier, the catch was secured. Even this one, right? Like it's bobbled, it's right there, but when he's going to the ground, he's secured it. And that's also a really cool thing. Rob, our show has been kicking butt, all I got to say, with the predictions this year.
Well, you know what? We do this for a living. Well, at least I do. So we
yeah, but that doesn't mean, like, I sometimes think there's been years where I've come into this like, oh, I freaking know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm gonna kill it with predictions, and I predict everything wrong. Everything.
We're riding the heater right now. That's what we're doing. So Niners give the ball to McCaffrey. He gains 5 yards on a nice run. And then they run a fantastic play, 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. Play action. They leak juice out in the flat. Mac Jones' knee is doing just enough to get him the time he needs to float the ball to juice in the end zone. And the Niners scored. And I was like, that's it. That's the this was one of the first times I was like, okay, this game is over. The Niners finally got the touchdown. Arizona's not doing anything with the ball, and that's going to seal it. And I was super happy.
Totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree on the juice play too. Again, I'd love a Ricky P target at some point down here. I want to see what that's all about. Maybe he's got to earn them. Maybe he hasn't earned them yet.
As long as they get in, I don't care.
Exactly.
And Kyle said that play to juice was the original play he wanted to run on the last possession on 4th down, but he was worried that Mac couldn't roll out and buy himself enough time to make the play, which I kind of understand from Kyle. So the Niners score the touchdown. It's 13-6. And I'm like, okay, we got this in the bag. And then the defense has their only bad possession of the whole game, Vish, where the Cardinals just go right down the field, 4 plays, 65 yards. Renardo Green at one point completely loses his man and then freaks out in the end zone and mugs a guy to the point it was so bad they called a penalty on him and he wasn't even the intended receiver. This was the only bad defensive possession for Robert Saleh's unit all day.
Yeah. The Green play is the only one I really want to point out from the drive because they missed the Marvin. Like the Marvin Harrison play was their one explosive play on 1st down where it felt like they were going to get him in that coverage. They got him the first time. He dropped it. This time he catches the arm punt. Like, okay. The Green play, Rob, it was much more egregious to me because, okay, it's an off schedule and Kyler Murray kind of throws a prayer. He's got a chance with the one-on-one ball in the end zone. Green completely panicked.
Yep.
Green tackles him and he flat out just tackles him. He just flat out tackles Zay Jones. And like you said, perhaps this isn't even to Zay Jones because him and Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of both loiter in that area. And Harrison Jr. is the one who ends up contesting for the pass anyway. But again, I thought the one thing about this play was Green, a guy that, is still very young in his career, You don't want him to panic in that situation. He did panic.
Yeah, he had a rough afternoon, kind of. So the Cardinals scored the touchdown, and all of a sudden I was like, well, crap. What? Now that touchdown didn't even matter to Juszczyk. I was a little deflated because it just looked so easy for them, which it hadn't all game long. So, all right, now we're in it. Here we go, Mac. Your chance to answer. Niners get the ball back. They start to drive down the field a little bit. Christian McCaffrey's getting the run game a little. Brian Robinson has a 19-yard run on a toss sweep, the play that I was cursing earlier in the game, but beautiful play by Robinson. McCaffrey.
I was going to bring it up when you were cursing it, but then I didn't want to be that guy.
I get it. So 3rd and 5 from the 36-yard line, and Mac Jones drops back to pass, and in his own words, quote, I threw it right to him, meaning the defender, and the Cardinals make the interception, and I'm like, there it is. This is how we're going to lose this game. Mac Jones throwing a stupid interception when we had a chance again in field goal range, and the Cardinals are going to get the ball back just like they did last year and steal a game from us at the end. I went from thinking the game was over for the Niners to thinking it was over for the Cardinals.
Interesting. I thought the pick sucked, right? Like he kind of just, as he said, threw it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like he beats Pearsall to the ball. I didn't see the play back to see everything else that was going on, but I'll take his word for it that he threw it right to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just didn't see Arizona's offense doing much. And I felt like, again, that drive previously that they scored on a touchdown was a little flukish. Now, I can't tell you I predicted what happened in the next 4 possessions, Rob, because this game has more bizarre twists and turns to it for being one of the more boring first 3.5 quarters we've seen from a 49ers game in a while. But I had faith in this moment. You know, you and I are completely on emotional different levels. We are roller coasters through this game. When you're high, I'm low, and I'm high, you're low.
Yeah, we would balance each other out if we were together. Cardinals get the ball back. It is 3rd and 5, and Kyler Murray has a wide open Trey McBride, and he sees him and he throws it, and Fred Warner leaps up and bats the ball down with both hands, almost made an interception, but completely saves that from being a conversion. And so the Cardinals, who had all the momentum after the interception, instead pick up 5 yards in 3 plays and have to punt. And they do punt. And unfortunately.
So real quick, I think those are the little things where I think the defense the scheming makes a difference, right? Like on that 3rd down, you see McBride open and you're like, oh, well, if Warner doesn't knock the ball away, he's going to, get that 1st down. What a great play by Warner. No. They're bringing that blitz knowing that when he gets that blitz, that's where he's going to throw the ball. And they're putting Warner in his face knowing that he's too short to throw the ball over him. It's all set up because they know where he's going to throw the ball. These are the little things they were doing. And because he's so short and he throws the ball only to 1 or 2 places, and then he likes to run, and then maybe he makes something happen, although his running doesn't seem that impactful anymore. They put mousetraps all over the field, as Robert Saleh said.
Well, it worked to perfection on that play. Fred Warner leaps up and bats the ball down, and the Cardinals punt it. And they punt it to the 49ers 6-yard line because Sky Moore fair catches it at the 6-yard line. And then things get interesting because it's 2nd and 10, and Mac Jones drops back to pass, and Dominic Pooney gets absolutely destroyed by Calais Campbell, and Campbell comes through the line. Dominic Pooney is holding Calais Campbell by the waist, or trying to, as he is running past him. Campbell gets past him anyway, pressures Mac Jones in the end zone, who for some reason still has not thrown the ball away. They throw the flag. Now, I will say this. I went back and watched it. The hold does not take place in the end zone. Campbell has beaten Pooney by the time they get to the end zone. Pooney's not really touching him when they're in the end zone. The hold takes place before both of those guys get to the end zone. Now, Eric Crocker is saying that if the quarterback is in the end zone and there's a holding penalty near the end zone, that's automatically a safety. That is not my understanding of the rule. Now, I'm fully willing to admit that I could be wrong, but I went and found the actual rule, and to me, it doesn't say that. But regardless, they called the holding penalty in the end zone, and it's a safety. And at this point, Vish, I let loose with a string of expletives that would make a sailor blush, because the 49ers have played their ass off this game, and they're going to lose this game because of a stupid interception and a friggin' safety.
So, again, different emotions to this game. My buddy goes, he actually texts me at this moment. He goes, to lose a game because of a safety, that really sucks. I was like, you just watch. They're going to get this ball back, and Mac Jones is going to take them down the field, and they're going to win this game. That's really what I thought. But other than, I really don't know much about that rule, and so I can't give an opinion on whether I think you're right or Crocker's right. I find it interesting, and I also think Calais Campbell absolutely worked Dominic Pooney on that play. Like, that sucks. Like, Calais Campbell is going to the Hall of Fame. It's one of those things.
Yep.
The one thing I had in that moment is, Rob, regardless of the result of the play, and this wasn't going to change it, he should have thrown that freaking ball away.
Yes.
And I can't let that go. And that's like the one thing with him. Like, he played, in my mind, we're going to get to the best part of the game. He played a really good game. But those are the little things that stick into my head when people say, oh, are we going to have a conversation about him and Brock Purdy? Hell no. You can't do that if I'm going to have a conversation about you and Brock Purdy. You can't. In that situation, you just can't do that. And even if it was still a safety, I'd feel a lot better if we talked about this play and I know, like, he threw the ball away and it was holding. Because what was he going to do?
Right.
Like, what was he going to do?
I don't know. I mean, to be a little fair to Mac, he doesn't get tackled in the end zone. He actually did make it out of the end zone on the play.
Yes, I agree, which was a shocker. It was, especially with the whole knee situation that they were really driving at this point in the game too. I agree, fair. And his jersey's drooping off. The sleeve is completely ripped off.
Benali says he threw off the knee brace after that play. Max said that the knee brace was affecting his reads after the game. I don't know why, but apparently it did. I didn't see him throw it off after that, but I know that he did say that it was messing with him. So I got to go back and double check that. So here we go. The safety happens with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left. The Cardinals are now up 15-13, and they are getting the ball back with a chance to kill the clock. And we have seen, even though the Cardinals didn't score a bunch of points in this game, they were damn good at killing the clock with their offense. So I was worried. And they get the ball, and on first down, Kyler Murray scrambles like a toddler that just stole his parents' phone and picks up 9 yards. And I'm like, oh, crap, here we go. And I got to say, I thought Kyle Shanahan crushed this from a game management, time management standpoint. He nailed it because Kyler Murray runs for 9 yards. It is 2nd and 1, and there's 2 minutes and 23 seconds left. And he doesn't call the timeout. The Cardinals run the play. They pick up the first down, and then Kyle calls his first timeout with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left. I thought Kyle handled this perfectly, Vish.
It's the first time he didn't do the old school clock management.
Yes!
Because what you described is how they'd been doing clock management for like every game I grew up watching football. Like, that's how his dad would have done clock management, and Madden and would have been talking about it like, Mike Shanahan just used his first time out, guys. He's looking to preserve the clock. And I'm doing a terrible impression of that, so let's keep moving on. But the point is, this was the first time it felt like they had an analytics guy in the room being like, no, this is how we're going to time it up. I totally agree. These are the little changes with Shanahan this year that are making such a big difference. The way he's just coaching unbelievably well as a head coach, managing the game, him and Saleh. This was the last defense drive, so I want to just make 2 points in totality about the defense.
Okay.
I think they're going to be fine without Nick Bosa, the same way they were in 2020, in the sense that Fred Warner's playing out of his mind. If you remember, 2020 was the year Jason Verrett played like a number one corner. They have a number one corner who's playing very similarly to how Jason Verrett played then in Diamador Lenore. I think Green is going to get better in the secondary. Stout's going to get better in the secondary. And so those areas are going to improve. And I think the defensive line, it won't be so bad. Like, they've gotten some contribution. Like, Sam O has been kind of a surprise real player for them this year. Gross Matos has given them a little bit of something this year. So there's not a bare bones cupboard. Of course, that cupboard is only great with Nick Bosa. Now it's just a bunch of nice players and a really talented rookie in Mykel Williams. So that's the take I have there. One thing that's missing compared to 2020 is they had a very, very good safety playing very well. in Jimmy Ward in 2020. And I don't have expectations that Mustafa is just going to walk in and be playing really great football. I also don't necessarily look at Mustafa after his rookie year the way I was thinking of Jimmy Ward in 2020, but that's kind of the one thing. They don't put their safeties in too many positions where they're asking them to make plays, and that's why Pinnock and Siegel have been mostly clean, because Siegel is a clean player and Pinnock does the job. He's not Jair Brown. He's not going to mess up. But there were a couple instances, and we missed it, the Trey Benson run specifically, where Siegel is not comfortable, where if he has to come from depth and he's got somebody coming downhill and now he's got to come hard to the alley and close that space and make that tackle. Like Jimmy Ward was meeting that guy at 7 yards and that was it. It's a 7-yard run and he's getting up, cutting the guy, and it's up and under. Siegel was very tentative going up in that hole versus Trey Benson. And Trey Benson, not that impressive a runner to me. And so that's going to be something to look out for. But this defense, Rob, with Robert Saleh, it's going to be really good. They're going to give a lot of offenses issues, even without Nick Bosa.
So 2nd and 1, Cardinals convert. Timeout won by Shanahan. 1st and 10, they try to run Kyler Murray. And I know that Siegel hasn't been perfect, but I had to tweet this out this morning. They try to run Kyler Murray. If you're watching the stream, I have the still photo on the stream. Kyler has the ball at the 45-yard line. That's where he takes the ball, and he's about to run. Marquise Siegel is at the Niners' 41-yard line, and he comes through to make the tackle on Kyler Murray, and he tackles Kyler Murray before Kyler Murray gets to midfield. The amount of ground that Marquise Siegel covers on that play and then makes the tackle on Kyler Murray, who can be difficult to tackle at times, I was blown away by that play because that was what the Cardinals wanted to do. They wanted to use Kyler to control the game on the ground because there was no James Conner. This is where they really missed James Conner, and I was blown away by Siegel, who makes the stop for 1-yard gain. Kyle calls timeout number 2, and now the 49ers can use the 2-minute warning as their 3rd timeout and still keep one potentially.
Yep, agreed. And what happens on 3rd and 9? The most bizarre decision again. I thought Arizona would run this, make them lose their last time out and play field position for sure, Rob. That's how the whole game had gone. They hadn't completed a 10-yard pass the whole game. And now on 3rd and 9, they drop him back.
They had, hang on. He used timeout number 2 after 1st down.
Right,
Second
the 2-minute warning got him to 3rd down.
I apologize. 3rd down, Kyle could use his 3rd timeout after 3rd down is what it was. So I apologize. I got ahead of myself there. And on 3rd down, they go to pass. This, to me, I put on Kyler Murray for a couple of reasons. If you watch the play, there is another receiver that is more open than the one Kyler throws to. He's open for a 1st down, but Kyler elects to throw to the deeper guy. Now, in Murray's defense, he was also open. He had beaten Upton Stout on the play. But if you watch the throw, the receiver, was it Zay Jones? I think it was Zay Jones. The ball's a little bit behind him. It's not a bad throw by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a tiny bit behind him. And Upton Stout, who was beaten on the play, has slightly less ground to make up. And he does make it up. And he knocks the ball out of the receiver's hands. Incomplete pass, stops the clock, stops the drive. Massive play.
And that was a much bigger breakdown than I had. Good stuff, Rob.
I
was more thinking, why the hell are you throwing this ball?
I mean, I was stunned too, but it reminded me of the NFC Championship game against the Lions when they kept going for it on 4th down. I was like, okay, this is scary.
Rob,
but
they could complete the forward pass in that game.
Yeah,
this was Charlie Brown running around and throwing it to Lucy 2 yards in front of him the whole game. And that's how the ball looks near him too. And all of a sudden on 3rd and 9 with the game on the line, it's like, okay, Kyler, drop back and we're going to have you throw an outcut from the pocket. Like, let's see what you got. Like, put it on him or deep over from the pocket.
So
yeah,
look,
right.
I paused it. There's somebody right at about the 45-yard line that had gotten past Renardo Green, who's wide open and could get the 1st down. Kyler elects to go for the deeper receiver, which, again, they're both open, so I don't blame Kyler. But he has to stop just that extra hair, and that gives Upton Stout a chance to make a play, and he absolutely does. And Kyle called him out after the game. He had Upton Stout break the team down in the locker room after the game was over for this play. It opens the door for the final drive of the game for the 49ers.
Yeah, someone said he wasn't getting pressured. And I wasn't saying he was getting pressured on the play. I'm saying like the idea of 3rd and 9 is that you're going to drop your quarterback back.
Right.
And somebody's going to rush them. Like I don't know. I feel like when you've coached the whole game and your quarterback hasn't been able to make the forward pass and you're in this, 15-13 grimy game, make the backup quarterback go the length of the field without timeouts. Like you haven't completed a 5-yard pass the whole game, and now you're trying a 10-yard one.
And the 49ers to that point had only scored 13 points. It's not like they were putting up points.
Right. And you were getting pressure on Mac Jones the whole game. Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell.
All right, Vish, let's get into it now.
Let's go to it.
I want to see if you give credit, because what happens on the punt? Do you remember? The punt,
touchback.
The ball was punted, and Sky Moore acts like he is about to catch the ball.
Oh, God. You're like Sanchez calling this a veteran play. The punt returner did his job, man.
And the ball goes into the end zone, and the Niners take over at the 20-yard line. And this is the crazy part. The drive starts with an incompletion. And in my opinion, Vish, it's the only real incompletion of the drive, because Mac will eventually throw one later, but I think he was throwing it away because his read wasn't there. So it's technically an incomplete. Like, he wasn't trying to complete that second one, in my opinion. But regardless, he throws incomplete to Pearsall on 1st down. And then from that point on, it is smooth operator. It reminded me in a weird way of Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of 2017, at the end of those games.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Telling Marquise Goodwin, hey, be a football player. Go inside a little bit.
Your quickness, baby.
Yeah.
Mac drops back. He hits Tonjes over the middle, like super quick, like snap. And as soon as the ball hit his hands, he's throwing the ball to Tonjes, who he credited after the game, because I guess they had run that a lot of times, and Tonjes usually doesn't look back for the ball that quickly. He did there. They pick up the 1st down, and all of a sudden, they are off and running. And they are just moving the ball down the field. They didn't have a single 3rd down on this entire 2-minute drive. It never got to like nut cutting time.
Yeah. And for me, the one thing was I like that you started the drive with the one incompletion, because I thought it was bad news. Because one of the things, and Greg Olsen has been stealing this and saying it on TV for 2 years now, is if it's his point, he's like, but the first person I heard talk about this was the king of the 2-minute drill, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers used to say the most important thing for the 2-minute drill is the first play. Whether it's a run or a pass, you need to get a positive play on the first play, because if you can do that, you build momentum for your entire drive on that. And the Niners kind of got the worst case scenario other than a turnover, right? Like a flat incompletion that just puts you back, and now it's 2nd and 10 and you're trying to get your drive started again. And so I thought, like, oh, crap, is this going to be hard? No. From there, like you said, it was just boom, 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 boom. And, Garoppolo in 17 was more like fun. I think I might have enjoyed it more as a fan. It might have meant more to me because I'm just so used to the Niners winning these days in my life as a fan. Those days, they never won. But again, this was, to me, this was one of the most surgical, like, 2-minute drives. It's not Garoppolo had a few that were of magnitude that would probably be more meaningful in the playoffs versus the Rams week 17, that sort of thing. But just in terms of how the drive looked, exactly like the one to end the half versus New Orleans, one of the best I've seen from a Niners quarterback. It looked effortless. He got them down the field with time. It was easy. They didn't even have to use their last timeout. He's spiking the ball to put a stamp on the drive. Totally agree with you on the throwaway. Thought it was one of his best decisions of the drive, not just because he threw it away, but how early he was to just chuck that ball out of bounds and get to the next play. That's the one thing I think that's missing from his game, that sense of the play is dead. I need to throw this ball out of bounds because I'm not going to survive this play much longer. Yeah, I totally agree. I thought that was maybe his best play of the drive, if I'm being frank, from what I feared from him.
And just think of who he's throwing to, right? They're running hurry up. They're not substituting. So yeah, Pearsall is out there. He's throwing to Jake Tonjes. He threw a 10-yard pass to Sky Moore. Like, he's not throwing to the studs out there, but you're right.
Kendrick Bourne, his guy.
Yep. And it looked easy. And
until the play of the game in terms of the play call. What a play call.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I just
okay. You want to go a little more?
Well, the thing I want to say too is I would love to see if somebody could measure this. How fast I keep calling him Brock. How fast Mac got the ball out of his hands every play that drive. I bet you it was like under 2 seconds. It was so fast. It was just left, right, slant over the middle, Tonjes, Sky Moore. It was surgical, and even on the throwaway too, you could tell Mac had it in his head.
And quick release, baby.
I got to get this out of my hands. I can't take a sack because the sack keeps the clock running, and it, obviously pushes us back yardage wise. He just understood the assignment in that moment. And actually, that on that throwaway that you mentioned, he has more time. I think he thinks he's going to be under pressure. He actually does have time. If it was Brock would have run. He would have run the ball for positive yards. But in that situation, that was perfectly fine for Mac Jones. Yep, live to play another day, throw the ball away. He did, and that set up the play of the game, which you can talk about if you want.
An hour and 25 minutes into our show, right before we go there, I'm going to share a small personal story that I rarely share, okay? When younger Vish Kumaran was playing high school soccer, and in the days of my soccer career, I was a very small, I'm a little slightly bigger now, but I was a small kid, okay? I was always short. I was always very skinny. And my soccer coach used to always tell me this thing, and he would say, know your personnel, which in my case was know that you're the smallest freaking kid on the field and you have to compensate for that. You constantly remind me how little I was, okay? When you bring up the Brock Purdy, Mac Jones thing, Brock Purdy's allowed to do that. Brock Purdy makes things happen if there's nothing going on. He's athletic. He's creative. That's his skill set. Mac Jones, know who you are. Only bad things happen when you hold the ball and try to extend the play. You're not creative. You're not that athletic. And frankly, it overwhelms you when you run yourself into pressure. The best thing you can do for your career is learn that, okay, even if there's nothing, I have space, I'm going to throw this ball out of bounds because the best thing I can do is get to the next down and my back foot hits the ground and maybe I get the ball out of my hands because that's what I'm really, really good at. And if he does that with more consistency, maybe he can be Kirk Cousins. But if he doesn't do that, he's always going to be Mac Jones, maybe starting a little bit here, starting a little bit there. But that's his number one issue. And to quote my soccer coach, know your personnel, know who you are. Brock Purdy might have gotten 10 yards on this slid, and we would have felt like that's the game right there. Mac Jones, anytime you're holding the ball, and even if there's not pressure around you, if no one's open, throw it out of bounds. You're not making good things happen, or run forward. Get 4 yards, get down.
You could see I paused it at the top of his drop. He doesn't like anything. So he runs because he's like, oh, I think I'm pressured, but he's not. And then he realizes it, and he stops again and resets his feet. He takes one more look, and then he just chucks it deep and out of bounds and says, forget it. I'm not worrying about this anymore, and we're going to live to play another day. And it was absolutely the perfect decision because then what happens? They run
all of the game, Rob.
The screen pass to Christian McCaffrey. And let me just tell you, if you go and look at the setup of this play, let me see. I wrote it down. The screen pass, there are 5 guys at the hash or further away from the play that are completely incapable of stopping this play. So Kyle called it at the perfect time because you got 5 guys that have no chance to stop it because, again, they only need like 5-10 yards to get into like super close field goal range. And then there's 4 guys on the defensive line that have rushed in that can't make the play. So this was the perfect play call at the perfect time for the 49ers. And Christian McCaffrey picks up 20 yards and puts the ball at the Arizona 16-yard line. And at that point, you were like, holy crap, I can't believe they're going to pull this off.
Well, yeah. I thought they were going to pull it off before the screen call. The screen call was like, holy shit, they pulled it off like that. And then I thought even bigger, Rob, like the screen was a cool play for them with the timeout to say, no, let's get our offense, get up, line up, and spike this with what? I think they spiked it with 7 seconds to go, and they took about like 4 or 5 seconds for the whole operation of getting McCaffrey up, getting the ball set. I thought that was cool too. It was like, we have this timeout, but Mac Jones is like, no, I'm Swaggy Mac. I'm gonna do this thing my way. And he does it with the spike, and then they even get to do the little dive to put Steady Eddie in his hash area. And then he's aura farming for the new, the new words the kids are saying. Because I have to say that's what the kids are saying, because I didn't know what that was until I learned Vita Vea was doing it this weekend.
Well, but again, this is like the Niners being on top of the operation, right? So they complete that pass. You could have panicked and called the timeout right away, but they don't. They realized they had plenty of time. Everybody was on the same page. They get up, they spike the ball. Now, they could have used the timeout, and they certainly could have kicked the field goal from there, and it probably would have been good as well. But they just did that little extra. It's like, oh, we have a timeout in our back pocket. Why not spike?
Feel good for our team, Rob. That's what that was.
Well, and look, God knows they've had kicking problems, right? If you have the chance to make things even easier for Eddie Pinheiro, why not do it? And that's exactly what they did.
Hey.
Mac puts the snap and dives into the center of the field and puts the ball right where he wants it.
Hey, at the end of the day, to win a division game where you turn it over in the fourth quarter, you surrender a safety, which is essentially a turnover, with points in the fourth quarter, and you still win at home without George Kittle. You lose Nick Bosa in the game. Your offense doesn't have Juwan Jennings. Brandon Ayuk is still hurt. Christian McCaffrey is running on fumes. Like that's pretty special stuff for the character of your team. And that's why I feel like writing off these 49ers as, oh, this isn't a Super Bowl year. You don't know. You don't know how much confidence this team builds. The 2011 49ers, people were like, oh, when they beat Philadelphia and they had that big comeback when Justin Smith stripped Jeremy Maclin, it was like, oh, they're pretty good, whatever. And then they go stomp Tampa Bay, and it's like, oh, are they a good team? And then they played 5-0 Detroit, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe the 49ers are a contender. I'm not comparing the personnel on that team to this one. I'm just saying, like, things shift quickly in the NFL. Like, what's a young team in September can just be a team of dogs by October, November, December. That's what the Rams did. Like Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. I keep calling him Braden Frisk. Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner. That became one of the best front sevens in football overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It started off as a young defense, and by the end of the year, it was one of the best front sevens in the NFL.
Absolutely right. And the Niners have said they think they'll be a better defense by the time the end of the year rolls around. So the Niners get the ball. Eddie Pinheiro gets out there. He makes the field goal. Easy peasy, no drama. Did you see the Kyle Shanahan reaction to the game-winning field goal from Eddie Pinheiro?
I did. Do you have it? I knew you would have it.
He throws it out. I don't know if he says yes. I don't think he said. I think he added bleep yes, but that's just my personal headcanon. But he was all of us in that moment, because we've seen Kyle Shanahan scream after a field goal attempt, and usually it's the bad thing, and we're in the bad place. Instead, it was a game-winning field goal. And Kyle said it today in the conference call. They had a safety and an interception in the last 5 minutes of this game, and they won. They came back and won without like a blocked punt or without, a fumble or an interception by the Cardinals. To be able to come back within sort of the regular structure of the game, if that makes sense, is unbelievable. That almost never happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was just a complete coaching mismatch, if we're being honest, on both sides of the ball, and that makes such a big difference in the margins of each game situation. Like, again, I don't know if the Niners wouldn't have won the game, but I know for damn sure that any good coach is not throwing the ball in that 3rd and 9. You make them use their time. You have done nothing throwing the ball the whole game. And you have the field position. And you don't tell your punter to try and pin it inside the 10. You say kick it straight up into the air and kick it to the 15. Sacrifice a couple yards because it's better for them to start their drive on the 15. Oh my God, man. This is coaching to me. That's all coaching. You're on the road too in a divisional game.
What did Kyle and Saleh preach back in 2019? And I'm sure they're preaching it now. Do right longer, right? That was always their mantra. And they absolutely did in this game. Do right longer.
Do right when the other team does wrong, man. That's all I'll say.
Hey, but the Niners had multiple chances in this game, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. had multiple drops. I get it. The James Conner injury, the Niners were fortunate in a lot of things, but you know what? They took advantage of those opportunities. That's not a given that you automatically take advantage of stuff when it happens. And the Niners did that, and that's to their credit.
I agree, Rob, but the football fan in me, like Arizona's a good, like a team of talented players that operates and exists like a bad football team. That's what they are. Like the way they play, the way they're losing and getting results in games, like you would think they have the Miami Dolphins situation going on in their locker room. But no, they all like each other. They have a bunch of talented young players. It's a disgrace.
Well,
It's a disgrace that we had to watch those 10-play, 33-yard drives for 7 minutes, man.
All I know is that bad team beat the 49ers twice last year, okay?
Oh, I know. Don't get me started on it. That's why I couldn't do the whole injuries thing last year.
The 49ers are 3-0, all 3 wins in the NFC, 2 of the 3 wins in the NFC West. They're the only undefeated team in that division. They're sitting atop the division, potentially getting their quarterback back next week. I know that there's injuries. I know the Bosa thing sucks, but this team has grit, man. They have grit. They're starting to believe at the end of these games that things are going to turn their way instead of turn against them. And I think that is a massive, massive difference from last year. And even without Bosa, I'm excited.
Yeah, they don't win any of these 3 last year, Rob.
Nope. And they've said it. That's not just us fans saying it. They themselves have said it. So it's a real thing. And I'm excited to watch them next week, even without Bosa. I'm excited to watch them. And I'm picking them to win next week.
Yeah, it's a different feeling because I feel like as a fan, you always you appreciate them. They become a star player. Like they were probably your favorite player right before they ascended. And then now they're just one of the stars on the 49ers. And you pick up a new young guy as your famous player. I'm kind of in that, or favorite player, excuse me. I'm kind of in that cycle with Bosa. Like when Bosa first got hurt, it's devastating both times. But when he first got hurt, it was like, oh man, I watch the defense because I want to watch Bosa.
Yep.
Like that's who I'm always looking at. Every play is Bosa near the quarterback. Is Bosa getting pressure? That's the first thing I see every play. Now it's not that I don't see that. It's not that I don't root for Bosa, but I'm watching Mykel Williams before I'm watching Bosa. Like I know Bosa's going to get pressure, but every play I'm watching 98 first, that sort of thing. And so I'm devastated Bosa's hurt, but yeah, I haven't lost my excitement because I really want to see Mykel Williams next week. Like that's where my excitement is.
Perfect way to end it. Dieter Kurtenbach tweets, with Mykel Williams on the field, the Cardinals had 14 designed runs. They gained 35 yards on those 14 runs, which is 2.5 yards per carry. Mykel Williams is that dude. And I don't care if he doesn't get a ton of sacks. He's on this team because of what he does, because of this, because he fixes their biggest issue last year. He is a man among boys out there right now. I'm so excited to watch him, and you should be too. We got
a tough matchup next week, Rob. One of their most underrated tough matchups of the year.
Well, great. Bring it on. That's what I say. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. We always go super long, and this one was one of our longest. So thank you, everybody, for hanging in and watching. We appreciate it, Vish. Appreciate the breakdown, as always. There's nobody else I could do this kind of show with, so thank you so much. And go damn Niners. We'll recover from the Bosa news. And look, the NFL doesn't stop, so we'll be here with you regardless of what happens. Like this video.
Find the Cardinals. Find Bidwell. Find Gannon.
Punish Arizona. We'll talk to you next week.